One thing every successful individual, leader, and entrepreneur have in common is a consistent morning routine. Having a simple, easy to implement routine enables you to start your day with a sense of purpose, accomplishment, clarity, and direction. For this reason, I have prepared for you a free guide with an easy to follow 5 minutes morning routine and a tracking template where you can document your progress day by day. I've been receiving messages from some of you already telling me how this habit has transformed your days for the better. Download this 5 minutes morning routine right now by clicking the link on my show notes so you can start your day on purpose. Welcome to the With Clarity and Purpose podcast with your host, Yanet Borrego. Each week, I bring you an inspiring person or message to empower you to live life on your terms so you can be who you want to be, do what you are meant to do, and have the life you deserve to have. We will provide you with practical and cutting-edge approaches to continue getting clarity and direction on your path, mastering your mindset, and gaining confidence to tap into your inner wisdom so you can live on purpose. When I first got certified as a leadership coach and speaker, back in 2015, under the John Maxwell team, I was still working in my corporate job, actually as an engineer in the supply chain department. And when I finished this certification, I knew immediately that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I just fell in love with guiding people to access their inner wisdom, to access their resourcefulness, whatever they have inside of them already, because there are so many times when we think we have to rely on external factors in order for us to accomplish our goals. So as a coach, I help clients to access their internal tools, their internal resources in order to make anything happen. And when I finished my certification, I knew one day I was gonna make my vision happen of becoming a full-time coach and speaker. So I reached out to someone who was working for the same company I was working for, but last year she had transitioned from her corporate career to a full-time yoga and studio owner. She had her own studio. She was a yoga teacher there and she was teaching. And I was like, wow, that's who I want to become, but in the area of coaching and speaking. So I reached out to her really quickly and I was like, hey, I want to take you to dinner. I want to pick your brain. I want to know everything you did in order to get there, right? I want to model your successful behavior of becoming an entrepreneur, but not only that, of dedicating your career to what really fires you up so you can create a bigger impact around you, in the people around you. And we went to dinner and I was talking to her. I was trying to get all her wisdom. And she gave me one piece of advice, which now I realize how important it was. The one piece of advice was, Janet, start creating content on a consistent basis. It doesn't have to be every week, but at least once a month while you're still working on your corporate job. I think if you start growing that community of creating content, that can be super powerful. And I told her, I'm gonna do it, I'm committed. And she was like, I'm gonna reach out literally a month or 2 months after and see how you're doing. So I went back home. I think I did like 3 different posts in my blog. And then I stopped. And exactly 1 month or 2 months after, I don't remember very well, she texted me to check on me And guess what? My response was like, I didn't do it. And I probably gave several excuses. And honestly, she never checked on me again because probably she thought, which at that moment it was probably true, that I wasn't taking it seriously. And I want to ask you, have you been there before? Have you been in a place where you really wanted to do something, but you didn't follow through? And this happens so many times. I see it on my clients, I see it on myself at times. When we have conscious desires of wanting to do something, it doesn't mean that we are gonna do it because change happens at the subconscious level. You may want to really accomplish a goal, but if your subconscious programming, if your beliefs, if your emotions and your internal states are not supporting that conscious desire, you are gonna self-sabotage yourself in ways that you cannot even see it, because all of us, we have blind spots. That's why it's so important to work with someone external to you who is professionally trained, like a coach, a therapist, who can help you point those blind spots so you can take action and you can start making a change that is sustainable and consistent. I mean, it happens to all of us because we are human. So when that happens to you, I want you to be compassionate and graceful towards yourself, because it's pretty common that we fall off track whenever we are trying to do something new. As I always say, the most important thing is to go back on track. But part of that important thing is to also check with your subconscious programming, which I'm going to talk a little bit in this podcast episode. Today, I want to share all the lessons about this experience that I went through back in 2015 and what stops most people of creating change. Now, this is knowledge. And knowledge is potential power. Action is real power. So at the end of the episode, I don't want you to say, Yanet, I knew this content, I have this knowledge. Okay, are you doing something with it? Because that's the most important piece of information. Knowledge is potential power. Action is real power. So you gotta apply that knowledge that you're getting in this episode. I was listening, I forgot the name of this person. I was listening to this guy. He's like a super successful entrepreneur. And he was talking about learning and failing forward. And I love his definition of learning, which he probably got it from someone else, and that's totally okay because we all leverage the same knowledge and content. But he was saying how learning is behaving differently, how learning is being in the same context of the same situation and choosing differently. That's how you learn. If you're in the same context, the same situation, and you keep behaving the same way, it means that you haven't learned anything yet. How you know you're learning is that you are choosing differently, you are behaving differently. So this is really important to keep in mind when you find yourself maybe consuming some self-help content and saying, oh, I know this already. Okay, but are you applying it? That's what matters. And if you're applying it, it means that you don't know it already because you're not experiencing and you're not learning from your experience. This is important because all these lessons that I'm gonna teach today in this podcast episode, these are lessons that I learned after I didn't follow through with my goals. And I've applied exactly what I'm gonna share with you today. And I'm happy to say, honestly, these last 5-6 years, I've been the most consistent I've been in years. And I've also observed this behavior with my coaching clients. And as I teach them this same framework, these same lessons. So I'm sure if you're really committed to your growth and you listen to this content and you apply it, you're gonna get the results. As a testimony to this, so you just don't believe what I'm saying, this is the episode number 86 of this podcast. Isn't that crazy? 86. These are 86 weekly episodes that I've done in the last year and a half. I've only missed 1 week. And it was because I was thinking of switching this podcasts from weekly to bi-weekly, because to be honest, it's a huge investment of time, energy, and money. I have a podcast team that works in the background to make sure this content gets to you. And I decided to prioritize, honestly, the free value all of you are getting, because I think it's worth it. And I received so many messages via social media, in my text messages, from all of you saying how much value this content adds to your life. So I just decided to keep it going. But I've been going strong since like few years back, and mainly this podcast episode. This is huge evidence of what I'm teaching you. If you apply it, it's gonna work. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and when is your decision, when you're gonna apply all these amazing lessons and strategies that I'm gonna share with you today. Okay, what are the 3 reasons why most people feel that change is difficult and what to do about it? The number 1 reason, as you know, this podcast is called With Clarity and Purpose. The number 1 reason is lack of clarity. And it's lack of clarity related to two main elements. The first element is the lack of awareness of what has been stopping you from you to actually follow through with your goals. Most people, what's stopping them is fear. In that case, back in 2015, I wrote 3 blogs and I was afraid to do more because I thought I was gonna fail, and I didn't even know how to measure if people were reading it. Like, I was afraid of uncertainty, and therefore I stopped. I also, which is the second element I'm gonna discuss, I also wasn't connected to my why. I didn't have a strong why that would get me through the challenges of life, that would get me through the challenges of building a new skill and building a new habit. Yes, I knew a lot of self-help content, but was I applying it? Probably not at its fullest, right? So that's why I'm here reminding you, it doesn't matter if you know this consciously, are you taking action? Because part of taking action is also building that subconscious programming within yourself to support your conscious desire. To be honest with you, change happens in a matter of seconds. I've seen it with my clients. Even before we start the coaching sessions, we have one day that is a breakthrough session. It's just a full session focused on an in-depth analysis of the client, their detailed history, where we get to identify the core root causes of their limiting beliefs, the negative emotions, and we get to release all of them with this clinically proven technique, and this amazing technique that it works every single time, called mental and emotional release. It's also called timeline therapy in other submodalities, and it's so effective. I mean, I've gotten so many testimonials. One of the most transformational for me were 2 clients which were experiencing postpartum depression. And again, this is like the extreme case. Most of my clients are not experiencing postpartum depression or depression in general. But these 2 clients were really in low times of their lives, and they went through this technique. Of course, I always explain the why, the how, the what, and they went through it. These breakthrough sessions take 5 hours. I divided in 2 days for the most part, unless you want to go full in and do it the same day. But for most people, can be a lot, so I try to be flexible with the timing. We went through this breakthrough session literally after we finished and released all that baggage and did the forgiveness technique meditation that I also do. They felt like new. And one of them, I mean, she's a dear friend too. I'm still in contact with her 1.5 years, and she's doing great after the breakthrough session and after we coach. The other one, I've been 4 months with her, doing amazing. So I know it works based on my experience and my clients' experience and everyone else that I know, because I know a couple of people that have done MER, mental and emotional release. So I think getting clear on your blind spots, on what's stopping you from getting there, is really important, because you cannot start new goals or create new things when you haven't cleaned your internal house first. You gotta clean your internal house first. You gotta release in order to allow space for new habits, in order to allow space for new goals. So I think that's really important. Again, you can journal, you can write write down, hey, what is stopping me from achieving the goals I want to achieve, from achieving the goals I want to achieve. Most people is fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. But even within that fear, there is an event that happened earlier on in your life. Most of these events happened from age 0 to 7 that really started creating that baggage. And after that baggage was created, more events happened later on that reinforced that limiting belief or negative emotion. Now, if you believe in past lives, this could have been a past life too. It could even have been in the womb, right? Where you are a soul, a human being already. There are so many reasons why, but finding that root cause of what is the root cause of that fear that you're experiencing and why it's stopping you from getting there is so important. The second piece of lack of clarity is really about defining your why, your long-term vision, your long-term direction. And when I work with clients, what I realize, and it happened to me even back in 2015 in this situation, most people lack a vision. Most people haven't stopped to strategically define, hey, who would I like to be ideally, right? Few years from now. Not that you're necessarily gonna get there, but it's the ability, it's the permission for yourself to start dreaming and start defining a potential future with no boundaries. Most of the day we go through life thinking of our limitations. 80% of the thoughts we experience are negative. And part of defining your why is actually focusing on what you want. Who do you want to be? What are the things you want to be doing? And what are the things you have, right? What are your goals that are going to take you closer to that North Star vision? Remember, the North Star vision is a North Star. It's like a guiding mechanism. When the old sailors didn't have GPS, I wouldn't have survived back then, to be honest with you. But the old sailors, when they didn't have GPS, they would use the North Star as kind of a mechanism to know where the north was, to know if they were in the right direction. Were they meant to reach that North Star? No, the North Star is in the sky. But the purpose of having that North Star vision is to shoot for the moon so you land in the stars. To shoot really high, really high, really high, so you actually push the boundaries of what you know and you can grow. That's the whole purpose of having that why vision. And another important purpose is, as you work through new goals and as you build new habits, you are gonna hit obstacles, you're gonna hit roadblocks, you're gonna have many days where you are gonna feel like you don't want to show up, like you are not motivated. That why, having that strong why, as long as you focus on it, it has the potential, the power to pull you out of that zone of not feeling motivated, not feeling like you don't want to. And despite of how you feel, you'll have the ability to show up because your why is way stronger and bigger than any temporary limitation. And that's where people, so many times they get stuck, because they don't have a vision, they don't know where they're going, and they feel like they're showing up, but there is no meaning, there is no purpose. I spend a couple of weeks with my clients honing this clear vision really well, because that's the framework for everything else that follows after the breakthrough session. I would love to share one of my coaching clients' testimonials, which she talks about overcoming her fears because she has a clear purpose, a clear why. I've gained a new level of respect for myself. This is her. No longer making excuses, but feeling brave enough to face my fears. Enjoying a newfound curiosity to explore what I previously thought were unrealistic goals, and having the determination to make them real. It's a state of mind everyone should have the privilege of experiencing. You can read all the self-help in the world, but having a coach like Yanet to talk to brainstorm with, to guide me and help me clearly see what's been in front of me this whole time is priceless. As a coach, I believe you have all the resources you need to succeed. It's within you. I guide you to go within, to access those resources, to access that inner wisdom, so you don't have to depend all the time on external circumstances to make you happy. You don't have to wait for that promotion, that perfect partner. You can find that within yourself. And of course, it is a journey, right, of gaining clarity, of getting to know yourself. So that's why I love that part. I think when you also know your why really well, you can overcome rejection a lot easier. Your self-worth and your confidence are gonna be way much stronger because you know that you're worth it, you know that you're capable, and that vision that you have, it's also possible. It's just like Paola said in this testimonial, goals that she thought were unrealistic goals, and having the determination to make them real. And I mean, she was an amazing client, and I'm just so honored to be able to coach her. And right now she's actually studying her MBA, which was something that she thought at that moment was unrealistic. It was something that she thought at that moment was like too much of a risk. And now she's going through it. She's loving it. She's so happy. And that's what a coach does to you. It allows you to realign with who you are already. But you cannot realign with who you are already if you're not asking those questions and if you're not investing that time and effort to get to know yourself. So that's the first reason, right? The lack of clarity when it comes to your why, but also when it comes to knowing your blind spots and what's stopping you from getting there. Knowing those fears, those limiting beliefs that are stopping you. The second reason is accountability, and having someone or a support system that believes in you in moments where you don't even believe in yourself. That is so important. And accountability can be, I talk about accountability all the time. There is so much research behind it. Accountability can be like a friend who can hold you accountable. It can be your partner if he's someone that can hold you accountable, and can be also a coach who encourages you and who sometimes sees that vision for yourself that you're afraid of embracing. Accountability is super important. It can be even groups. I mean, there are accountability groups. When I was building my digital course, I invested in a program from my marketing mentor, and within her program, within her digital course, you could form accountability groups with other people. So I actually had one of them was a coach and one was a musician, and they were amazing accountability partners. And I thank them for finishing my course, and not only that, for launching it, because one of them went first, and after she did it, I'm like, okay, now I'm motivated to do it too, because the journey is not linear, the journey is not perfect, and it's okay to embrace who we are. So accountability is super important. That's why also, like, group classes, sometimes people feel better when working out, going to group classes, because they feel more accountable and their trainer is kind of watching them do the thing versus doing them by themselves. And to be honest with you, the ideal version is to transcend any external help and to rely on yourself. But there is a journey to get there, and that journey takes lots of repetition, and it takes time and effort too. The third reason why people find change difficult is because they don't ask this question when they are making decisions, or when they are establishing new goals or new habits, when they are committing to new programs, or they are committing to a coach or a therapist. This question is, what are you willing to give up to adopt this new behavior, to adopt this new goal, to follow through with this skill, with this habit? What are you willing to give up? Something gotta give, because even when clients coach with me, they're showing up differently. They're actually dedicating 1 hour every week of their schedule and their calendar to work on themselves. And that takes effort, and that takes time, and that takes showing up in ways they haven't showed up before. So there is something that has to give if you think about it. Working out. Okay, what are you not doing to work out? Maybe watching TV. Maybe, I don't know, like not working 12 hours every day. There are so many things. Maybe family time. I don't know. What are you willing to give up to adopt this new behavior? There is something always that you'll have to give up. And the more you reflect on it, the more congruent you feel with change and the more congruent you feel with your decision. When I transitioned back in 2021 from my corporate career to full-time entrepreneurship, I asked myself this question very clearly. What am I willing to give up? Well, I was willing to give up my 6 figures salary for sure. I was willing to give up my benefits. I was willing to give up, in a way, being a contrarian, meaning that I'm doing what most people are not. And most of them, they don't even want to do it. And that's totally okay. But embracing a new identity also allows you to embrace a new community, to embrace new friends. I mean, thankfully, I have a lot of friends and I keep in touch with most people from my corporate career, which I'm really grateful for. But I had to think through this very important question in order for me to make a transition that was smoother. There are plenty of challenges in the transition, but one of those challenges was not unforeseen consequences, because in my mind, I already had a clear view of the consequence of going from employee to entrepreneur. The consequence in a not so positive way and also in a very positive way. And after weighing the pros and cons, I knew, like, my why was so strong that I knew I was gonna do it. So what are you willing to give up? Now, as I mentioned, you have listened to this knowledge. What is one thing from this knowledge that you're gonna take today and you're gonna start implementing? If you don't change your behavior, then you haven't learned anything. That applies to me too, to everyone. If you change your behavior under the same context, then that's a huge sign that you have learned something. If you still show up and you keep repeating the same patterns, then you haven't learned anything. It's really important to change behavior and to embrace the learnings of all the knowledge we are gathering every single time. I hope this podcast was super, super helpful. Again, I want to summarize really quickly. The 3 reasons why most people find change difficult is because there is a lack of clarity. Lack of clarity when it comes to your why, and lack of clarity when it comes to your blind spots. Those things, internal things like limiting beliefs and negative emotions and baggage that are stopping you from getting there. The second reason is accountability. Accountability and having someone in a community that supports you and they enable your dreams. That they push you whenever you are not ready to believe in yourself. They believe in yourself and they tell you you're capable. But also that accountability to make sure that as you're taking action, someone is keeping you accountable and reminding you the journey that you're going through, that it's going to be worth it, right? Because for every cause, there is an effect. For every action, there is a reaction. If you put the effort, the energy, the fruits of your labor will be imminent. They'll come. I mean, no matter what. That's the law of the universe. That's the law of energy. And the last one is reflecting and having radical honesty with yourself in terms of what are you willing to give up to adopt this new behavior, to adopt this new change. What are you willing to give up? If you reflect on that honestly and you commit to it, change, it may be challenging at times, but it's not gonna be as difficult. So it's really important to embrace this. I hope you really enjoyed this content. I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to share with all of you. I want to remind you, I have a couple of coaching spots opening up in the next few weeks. I'm finishing with a couple of clients. I work with a small group of one-on-one clients at the same time. So if this is something that interests you, please reach out. I'm going to include the link to the clarity call below. It's 45 minutes free. We get to connect. I get to understand where you're heading, what are your limitations. And if I can help you, I'll let you know. And if we are not a good fit for some reason, we can also talk about it and I can help you define your path forward. I hope you have an amazing week and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening at With Clarity and Purpose. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Sharing is caring. Please share with your friends and family so we can continue building an empowered community together. I'll see you next week.